What's up, guys? I know I haven't been live in a while, so I want to bring on a very special friend, Josh Forti, who's going to be talking about the entrepreneur mindset. And this is something that I struggled with when I was first starting my entrepreneur journeys, just not really knowing what to do or think when there was so much pressure on me. So, and that happens with everybody when they're first starting out. So I thought we could bring a lot of value to you guys here and talk about the mindset around everything when you're first starting off your own business or just in general, just trying to be a happier, more helpful person. So let me get Josh on here. What's up, dude? Just say hi.
Man, how's it going, man?
So first off, give me a little bit of background of your story. How did you start out, and what were kind of the struggles when you were first starting out?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Where'd he go? You cut out? Oh, shit. I think he cut it out. All right. I need to resend him the link. Let's see if we can get him in here. That sucks. And, yeah, I got a little bit of sun. I'm down here in Clearwater. It's absolutely beautiful. So my girlfriend and I went out to the beach a couple times. But we got Josh back. What's up?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It literally just cut out and was like not here anymore. I'm like, what the heck? All right.
It was so weird. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your story, how you started out, and what were kind of the struggles when you were starting out. I think that's really helpful to hear about.
Yeah, oh, for sure, man. So many. I think the biggest thing for me, man, starting out was I grew up in a small town. I grew up where you worked, you traded, you sold an hour of your time for $10, right? Mm-hmm. You traded dollars for time, and you worked really hard for everything that you had, but there was no concept of abundance, right? It was all a very limiting belief mindset. And there was no concept that said, hey, money is abundant, resources are abundant, you can go out and you can create, anything you want to. And so growing up in that small town environment and growing up in that environment that said, you can't do it. It takes 20 years for you to go out and get to the point where you want to be. There's a lot of hard work that's involved, all those things. That's what I was always told. And so, getting into this game of internet marketing and getting into the game of consulting and the game of B2B sales and the game of business, all of a sudden I realized wow, there's a lot of people making a lot of money. But when I first got started, and many of you probably feel like this as well, I couldn't imagine someone paying me $250 for my services. To me, that was a lot of money. And I was like, no one will ever pay me for that. And I remember going through, and I was growing Instagram accounts at the time, and I was struggling to find people that would hire me for $100 to $200 a month to manage their whole Instagram account. And now, I wouldn't touch someone's Instagram account for less than, $1,500 or $2,500 a month now. And so having that mindset shift and understanding value propositions and selling value rather than selling time, because that's what I was doing, selling time and not selling the value, and overcoming that. And it's a mindset shift. It really is. When I first got into it, I had the hardest time. I remember pitching my first $1,000 offer, my first $3,000, my first $5,000, and thinking, oh my gosh, there's no way anybody's going to say yes, and overcoming those mental blocks and those barriers in my mind that says, no, I'm bringing that much value to the table, and I'm not taking money from them. I'm simply exchanging value.
Yeah. I'm getting a little bit of feedback back there. I'm not sure what's going on.
Feedback on your end?
Yeah, on your end. But starting out can be really, I think it's fixed. Starting out can be really rough. I know everybody here in my group, they all had a starting point. They might still be at that starting point. And when you're going through that, you feel like, oh, there's so many successful people out there on Facebook, in these Facebook groups that are crushing it. You see them landing these $4,000 retainers and also just getting these ridiculous results. And they're like, crap. Why can't that be me? I can't do that. And it really, I think it just comes down to putting the work in up front, getting through those hardships, which I did a fuck ton. I got doors were slammed in my face over and over and over, literally because I was doing door-to-door sales when I was first starting out. and the receptionist sucked, and it just brought on so much stress. And I tried to mitigate that with keeping my energy levels high with fucking pre-workout and all that shit. But I'm happy that I kept that energy up and I just hustled my dick off, because when you do that, you get through those hardships and you learn from those things. So that's kind of what I wanted to put out there. Is that, go ahead.
And I think the other thing that is with that is you got to be, it's so important to know and understand your goals, right? And like what you're trying to work on and how other people's goals differentiate from that. Because like simply like different target audiences, you know, will pay different amounts, different industries pay different amounts, and what you're trying to build. Like if you're trying to build one business model that does one thing and somebody else is trying to build another business model that does something else, even if they're in the same industry, that doesn't mean that like what you're doing is wrong or what they're doing is right necessarily. It's two different lives, it's two different goals. And the other thing that you have to consider is the amount of stress level that they're willing to put themselves in. Because I look at myself and I know like when I first started into business, it didn't matter how stressed I was willing to do it because all I cared about was getting out of the situation that I was in. Now I look at everything, and if it causes me a certain level of stress, there's no amount of money that I will take to do that. Well, a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people are willing to take on ridiculous amounts of stress in exchange for money. And so like, imagine if I were to bring to you right now, I was like, hey, I'll bring you a $25,000 a month retainer. Would you know what to do with that? And even if you did, think of the stress. Like if you had to work 10 hours a day to maintain that, and it was a $25,000 a month retainer, you could go and post on Facebook and be like, I just signed this $25,000 a month retainer. Yeah, it's awesome. And everyone would look at you and be like, oh yeah, that's so awesome. But in reality, if you're working 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to maintain that, is it really worth it? And you have to remember also that social media is a highlight reel of other people's lives. I don't care what anybody tells you. Even like people that show the back end, show the dirt, and like I try to do it. I even tell people like you're seeing the dirt through my lens, right? You're seeing it through what I choose to see you. And I might try to be as honest as I possibly can, but you're still seeing it through what I choose to show you. And so what you have to recognize is your circumstances where you're at in your life right now are different than every single other person's on the planet. And so Andrew Crozy, I mean, like you and I, man, like we do a lot of the same stuff. We sell to a lot of the same people. We're both in internet marketing and in the online space. Your circumstances are different than my circumstances. What we're able to accomplish is different. Maybe that's based on health. Maybe it's based on, you know, who you knew. For those of you that are out there, you don't know that the person that just posted that they signed a $10,000 contract on Facebook didn't happen to run into someone at the bar who knew, you know, the founder of some company, right? And they completely lucked out. That happens a lot more than you realize. Yeah. So don't get so caught up in what everybody else is doing because it is easy to. It's so easy to get caught up in that. And what you need to be focusing on is, okay, what do I have lined up right now so that I can hit whatever that goal is, whether it's a money goal or a status goal or a follower growth goal or whatever that thing is. Look at the strategy and the plan that you have in place. Don't look at what somebody else is doing because their goals are going to be different than your goals.
Yeah, and I love your point that social media is just a big highlight reel. Because I think a lot of people need to hear that over and over again just so they don't get bogged down by social media, especially if you run your business on social media. Because me, like, I'm in a good situation, but I still get depressed. I still get down on myself. I still get stressed the fuck out. And I try not, as Tony Robbins would say, I try not to stay there. But I just want people to know that, like, that happens. That still happens when you get to that point where you're making a good amount of money, and you're still going to be stressed. There's still going to be those hard times, but it's about how you deal with those.
And I think it's really important to really know, like really understand what that means, guys, because I went through a time in my life where I was pulling in, $50,000, $60,000 months, and this was in late last year. I was hustling. I was working. A lot of it was B2B. We had we launched a course, so we were doing course sales. We were doing B2B. We had all sorts of stuff, and things were going well. It was the most stressed out time in my entire life. And then all of a sudden, like, I guess got overwhelmed, and I took a step back, and I canceled so many contracts, and I was like so overwhelmed. I lost a ton of money. Like, I probably lost 50 grand in 1 month just from like refunding people back of contracts I had signed because I was too stressed out. Going back on that, and took it down. And like for the months of like December and January, like for those 2 months, like I might have done 15,000 in that month, which is still amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong, but like at that level, I was so much less stressed and so much happier than I was at that 50 or 60,000. And I think that people, especially in this entrepreneur space of social media, they look at success purely defined as money. And it's like, if I'm not constantly going up and up and up in my business, I am not successful. And I'm here to tell you guys, I have made more money than I will make this month before, right? Like maybe let's say I make, 40,000 this month. I've made more than that before. So technically I'm on a downhill slump, or even if I made 20 or 10, but if my happiness is up, if I'm content, I have a friend of mine that I'm helping build his business. I'm going out and I'm more involved in like the gym and at a couple of charities here locally, right? I'm resting, I'm sleeping. I get to spend time with my friends. I get to be outside. I live a happy, balanced lifestyle at 10 or 15,000 a month. That's so much better than if you're 50, 60,000 a month, sleeping 3 hours, 4 hours a day, stressed out, don't get to enjoy life because, what's that all about? And so I think it's so important to know what's important to you and then go through and take actionable steps to make sure that you can stay focused on that. And what I mean by that is, and you were talking, we're going back to that social media as a highlight reel, is for me, every morning I would wake up in bed, I'd roll over and I'd check Facebook or I'd check Instagram. And the first thing that enters my head every single morning is, look at how awesome this person's life is. Look at how awesome this person's life is. Look at how awesome this person's life is. In order for me to get out of that, I literally every night had to go for a month and delete my Instagram app and my Facebook app before I would go to bed.
I've done that, yeah.
Roll over the next morning, pick it up, and like throw my phone because it's not on there. I'm like, get out of bed and like wait to download it again until I got to my desk just so that I could stay focused. And so owning the first hour of your day is the most important thing you can possibly do. Setting a schedule to where you win, you make your bed, you take a shower, you get dressed. And I know it's super easy to like want to work in your pajamas, but like if you have to stay busy and you have to stay focused, do not stay in your pajamas. Like get out of bed, change your clothes, put on clean clothes, get in front of your desk, get out in the sunlight, like wake yourself up and own that first hour. Because if you don't, you'll be depressed for the rest of the day.
100%. I think the biggest thing with being an entrepreneur is managing your emotions. If you are able to manage your emotions and take yourself from a shitty state to a good state, then you're doing it right. I'm still not perfect at it, but I'm doing a hell of a lot better than I was 6 months ago. And a lot of that has to do with, like you said, owning your first hour. One thing that I used to do is just check my phone right away. And that's training your brain to be reactive and just being like, oh, I need to answer these messages. Oh, I need to put a good post in my group. And it just trains yourself to not really focus on what's most important, but rather focus on like things that can take your attention every which direction. So what I've started to do more and more is put my phone on the other side of the room. And just walk over to it when the alarm goes off. I hit it off, and I try not to look at any of the notifications. I actually just this week turned off all my notifications. So a big struggle for me was seeing like either a Facebook notification or a Stripe payment come in and look at my phone, and I would get super reactive. So if you're able to avoid that and go and meditate, or go take a shower and just kind of sit with your thoughts for a little bit and think, hey, what are the top 3 things that I need to focus on today? It'll make your day so much better, especially with meditation. I fall in and fall out of meditation regularly, but for the past 2 weeks, I've been focusing on meditation 15 minutes every morning, and it just gets you in the zone of like, okay, I can control my thoughts a little bit better today. So that's huge. Just download the Calm app, meditate for 15 minutes, and then write down 3 things that you want to focus on for that day, and don't go to sleep until you get those 3 things done. If you do anything more than 3 things on your list, then you'll just go crazy. just 3 things and leave it at that.
Yeah. And taking that, and guys, like taking those small, simple steps, and I've been talking to a lot of people about this. Actually, let's go to how many of you guys agree with this? Is this making sense to you guys? If this makes sense, comment hashtag makes sense below and hit that like button just so that we know that we're with you guys. But this is so important. If you can't own the first hour, if you can't win the first hour, you're going to lose, right? And so that's why I tell people, take a shower. I prefer to end it with cold water. Make your bed every single morning. That's something the Marines do. That's something that's a proven fact. Like if you can do one thing right, it's a ripple effect. Get out, get dressed, get focused, and your mind is just in so much of a better spot at that point. And then you can go and you can get focused, especially for those of you that are like at home and like don't have jobs. Like maybe you are full-time entrepreneurs. That's awesome, by the way. If you're a full-time entrepreneur, congratulations. That's so super cool. But it's so much easier to get distracted because all of a sudden now you don't have a boss, right? Now you don't have to be at work. Now you don't have to go out there and do those different things. And that's something that I really struggled with and continue to struggle with there as well. And so if you guys have any other questions on that or on mindset or things like that, comment them and drop them below. I'd be curious to know how many of you guys actually have a business, like a home business, or how many of you guys actually are still in a job. That'd be interesting to know as well.
Yeah, because that's a big issue when you're working at home and you just feel like you're cooped up all freaking day. And then you build up the stress just in your body and you feel like, oh shit, like by the end of the day, you can't sleep because you've been in the same place all day and you feel like your body just feels it needs to go out and do something.
Yeah.
So one thing that I helped mitigate that for me was working out, just going to the gym. Whenever I felt stressed or whenever I feel like overwhelmed, I'll go to the gym or tired. So whenever I feel any of those emotions, I'll go to the gym, lift for like 30 minutes to an hour just to get back into my body and start feeling good, boosting my endorphins. And that helps a lot. Just helps with like manage your emotions a little bit better.
No, it really does. And the other thing that it is, like we talk about overcoming the mental blocks in your mind. How many of you have ever like been afraid to charge what you think you're worth? Comment me below, or not me if you haven't, I guess. But how many of you have ever felt like, man, it's hard for me to charge what I'm worth, or man, I'm never going to be able to go out and sign 5 clients, 10 clients, things like that. Mm-hmm. Guys, like a lot of mindset stuff comes back to confidence and comes back to things really that have happened in your life previously. Okay. And so a lot of the things, like maybe you went through a traumatic experience, maybe, you grew up in a negative environment of people telling you that you weren't good enough. And so like confidence plays a big, huge role into your mindset. And I was watching an interview with Grant Cardone and Ty Lopez the other day, and they were talking to one of Grant Cardone's sales guys. And he's like, yeah, when I got here, like I make anywhere from 200 to 400 phone calls a day. And I was like, that's so insane. And he's like, yeah, but I also know if I'm making that many phone calls, I am focused, right? And I can take no's or whatever, because all I have to do is get, that one yes. And then as soon as I get that yes, I earn my commission. I'm great. And then I'm ready to go. And I know if I have to make 15 calls to get one yes, then I just know that. And he's so confident and he's so excited because he knows his numbers. And he's like, no, I don't care how many no's I get. Someone's going to say yes. I'm going to be able to serve them. It's going to be awesome. And boom. And then the next one it is. Just go and go and go. And so I think that's really important to understand. That's like, if you have confidence going into what you're doing, and I made a post about this yesterday, anything is possible with enough passion and confidence. If you're passionate about what it is, if you're confident about what you're doing and going into that, like you can get so much done. But in order to have that confidence, it's really important to understand what's holding you back from that confidence. What's holding you back from understanding that the world literally is yours, that money flows freely, and that you can just plug into cash flow sources, plug into client flow sources, and with the internet now, just print money. Figuring out, okay, like what is it that's holding me back from that? Was it something your parents had said? Was it a traumatic experience that you've been through? Is it, limiting false beliefs that you've been told? Figuring out what those things are. And that's what I help a lot of people do, is go back and determine, hey, where was that time in my life? Or what are the things that I was told growing up? What were the things that I was told in my last relationship or whatever that's holding me back from understanding that the world is out, the world is mine, right? The world you can tap into, and there's unlimited amount of, resources and unlimited amount of money out there to be able to go out and have whatever you want.
Yeah. And one thing I want to talk about is you said that if you have unlimited passion and confidence and belief in yourself, then you'll be able to do anything. I remember before I started my entrepreneur journey, and actually like the first few weeks on my entrepreneur journey, I was like, why the fuck am I not passionate? Like, why don't I, like, I know I need that to be successful, but why am I not? And I realized I just wasn't doing enough. Like, you become passionate and confident about something when you're good at it. And you're not going to be good at something unless you put the time in to be good. You don't need to be phenomenal. You don't need to be great. But when you see those incremental steps of success and you see yourself getting better, that's when you get the passion and that's when you get the confidence. So focus on something that you're interested in and then work on that shit, and then you see yourself improve. It's like going to the gym. Like, when you start gaining muscle and you start seeing it grow, you're like, oh shit, the gym's awesome, instead of like, I hate going to the gym. So it's really about doing that first, seeing if it's a good fit for just you innately, you as a person. And if you start seeing yourself get better, you will get that confidence and you will get that passion.
So true. It's so true. And the other thing that's really important about all of that and having like being involved and getting passionate about those things, if you're selling something that you're not passionate about, oh boy, like, especially if it's a product, it's one thing, but like if you're selling services, especially high ticket services, and you're not passionate about it, like, you're not going to want to fulfill orders. You're not even going to want to go out and sign new clients. And that was the biggest thing for me when I was, scaling on my journey to 7 figures, right? It was like, I'm going to do this. And I started selling social media services and ClickFunnels services and, all these add-ons and B2B. We were selling courses and we were doing consulting and all these things. But like half of those things I was so not passionate about. And so like I'd have perfect opportunities there, and it would like take everything that I possibly could to pick up the phone and close the deal. And I'm like, I close a deal and I'd get like a $5,000 check and I'd be like, and I just hate my life for it. And it's like, why would you hate your life when you just find a $5,000 deal? Is because I'm just sold something I'm not passionate about. And now I have to feel that I absolutely hate and literally more stressful things in my life. So going out there and loving what you do, being passionate about what you do, and really being good at that, that's going to change your life dramatically if you just focus on those different things there. So I want to encourage you guys to do that as well and understand like what you do, you should be passionate about, because there's no amount of money that will buy passion in what you're doing.
And no amount of money will truly fulfill you like what you do fulfills you, or the people that are around you fulfill you. So get to a point where like you're financially free and you can kind of like do what you want, but you don't have to push it past limits and make stupid amounts of money if you're just stressed and hate your life. It's not worth it.
There's not a whole lot more you can do making millions of dollars than you can do making hundreds of thousands, right? Maybe you can fly on a private jet, things like that. And like I was talking, there was a billionaire. He's worth $1 billion, like 900 million. It was close to $1 billion. It was like $900 million. I sat down with this guy and I was like, what did you learn, right? Like, you've gone through, you've made all this money or whatnot. He's like, Josh, there's not a whole lot I can do at $900 million than I could at 10, right? And like that principle, like this guy says $900 million. He's worked his life away. He's almost a billionaire. Like, he's like, it's kind of pointless because there's not a whole lot more I can do at 10 million. Many of you guys are trying to hit that 7-figure mark, right? You want to be a millionaire. You want to make several $1 million, things like that. But like, what is that going to do for you? Because if all you're doing is chasing the money, like, think about it. If you make $500,000 a year, that's a lot of money, guys. That's a lot of money. And all it takes is, to hit $50,000 a month to hit $500,000 a year, right? I mean, you could drive a Ferrari. You can drive a Lamborghini on $500,000 a year, right? Like, think about that. And so I want to encourage you guys to remember, like, don't just go out and chase money. Chase what it is that you're passionate about, and know that 7 figures, if all you're chasing is a dollar sign, or 8 figures, if all you're chasing is that dollar sign, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot more than what you can now. Right. And so really chasing what you're passionate about, chasing what you're doing, I think is very, very important. And Eric Sanchez had a good question there. He said, Josh, how did you deal with this when you were at that $50,000 a month and, scaling up from there? And, honestly, man, for me, I am single. I did not have a girlfriend at the time. I, was 100% focused, and I really didn't deal with it. I worked 18 hours a day, and I was stressed, and I hated my life. And like, that's what people I don't think understand. Like, you get to a point where it's like, I can't keep up at this pace anymore, right? And so you have to make a shift. Some people make that shift into, outsourcing. Some people make that shift into quitting. Some people make that shift into, other things. For me, it was taking a step back and finding what I wanted again, because what I had started in, I knew I was no longer passionate about. And so I had to find what I was passionate about again. I think that if I knew I was passionate about it and I was just overwhelmed and stressed, I would have taken that and I would have invested into like mentors or coaches that would have helped me outsource. But I knew that there was no mentor, that there was no coach out there that could coach me into falling in love with this much stress again and like the things that I was doing. Like, it just sucked. And so I had to take a step back and really re-gear my whole mindset. I had to reset. And like, guys, it's not like your body and your mind and stress levels, they're complex. It's not just a simple like, oh, I'm going to decide, like one day I'm going to wake up and all the stress is going to go away. Like, taking a step back and resetting helps reprogram your mind. Going away and shutting off that phone while you're asleep helps reset your mind. Turning off social media, getting off the platforms for a day or two. We're so ingrained to be on social media all the time, but taking that step back and being like, okay, like, what am I really doing here? And when you really step back and analyze what makes you happy in life, I think stress levels really start to come down because you start putting your focus there. And that's why I think the number one most important thing is to start with why and understanding why you do what you do.
100%. I'm getting a little bit of feedback again.
Dang, what the heck?
But I'm curious about now it's fine. The people that are here, what is your biggest thing that you think is holding you back or what's stressing you out? Like, why do you feel like you can't get to the next step? There's something in my business where I want to get to the next step, but right now I'm like not at that point. And the reason why I think I'm not at that point is because I haven't been able to manage my emotions as well as I could be. And I think a big reason for that was because I was drinking way too much caffeine, homie. And I needed to take that caffeine out of my life. So I think I've gone, this is 14 days? Yeah. Today is day number 14 without caffeine. So I've gotten a lot better. I started out with like headaches and just very low energy. And now day 14, I feel pretty freaking good. I just see my energy going up from here. So my energy is going up naturally. And I've like really weird thing. I've been able to dream more. Like, my dreams are more vivid. I'm able to remember what I'm dreaming. So like, I really think my brain is just freaking resetting. Like, it's just, there are those little things that you do throughout your day that become a habit that might be actually detrimental to your long-term health. And I think that was caffeine. And what I really believe in is that you need to hustle to 6 figures. But if you're trying to get to 7 figures, like I'm trying to build a pretty nice business where it's sustainable, where I have people that work for me and that sort of thing. You need to focus to 7 figures. So I need to get my mind right to get to that point. And really, to get to the next level, you need to take things out of your life that are holding you back. And right now, I really feel like it is caffeine. When I was trying to get to 6 figures, it was alcohol. I could not drink alcohol to get to 6 figures because I was just lazy as fuck the next day after I drank. So I took that out of my life. I got to 6 figures. So yeah, what were you going to say, Josh?
There's so much truth to that, dude. Like, people overthink success so much. There's proven formulas to success. We know that. Right? As far as like what to do, put this wording here, create this funnel here, like all of those things, it's a proven formula. You can even outsource the whole thing. I mean, truly, I believe you could outsource an entire 7-figure business if you were smart enough, right? You don't have to But in order to do that, in order to get the understanding that there is to do that, you have to cut bad habits out of your life. People way underestimate the value or the damage that bad habits do. They're like, I can smoke a cigarette, I can sleep in, I can do this. And don't get me wrong, I'm the worst when it comes to sleeping in. But like, it's not always the act of what it is that you're doing. It's not always the fact that sitting on social media is a bad thing. It's not the fact that caffeine is a bad thing for you. The thing is that like the result of you doing that, letting your body doing that, is taking away from something else, right? Sometimes it's a direct result of whatever it is that you're doing, but oftentimes just having the discipline to owning the first hour of the morning. You know, for me, I hate getting up in the morning. I hate it. I cannot get out of bed. It is the worst thing in the world. And so for me, sleeping in, it's not a bad thing, but if I want to run the day, I know that I can't stay in my pajamas. And I was like, that's the whole reason I wanted to have a home-based business, right? I was like, man, I want to be able to work in my pajamas. But I knew that if I stayed in my pajamas, I was not going to get stuff done. And so when I get out of bed in the morning, I roll out. The first thing I do is I make my bed. I get in a shower, and I end that shower freezing cold. I get out and I put on clean clothes, jeans, and I go and sit down at my desk. And now I'm up. Now I'm focused. And it's the worst thing in the world. It sucks for the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But then you form habits with it, and it's like, okay, I can do this now, and now I'm staying focused. Now I know exactly what it is that I'm doing. So I think that that's a huge thing. And then the second thing on the flip side of that here, and then I'll wrap up, is you have to know what it is that you're doing next. The importance of having a schedule and being like, what do I work on, right? Like, where do I put my time? Where do I put my energy? Where do I put my thoughts? I think that's so crucial, because if you don't know that, you're never going to get anything done.
Yeah, I love that. And we have a couple of comments here. And one thing, I can't read their name because BeLive is screwed up right now. But my energy in general, my diet, and hanging out with the right people. So hanging out with the right people is huge too. So you are a product in your environment. As much as you think you can navigate around that, holy crap. Oh my God. Like, when I've changed my environment, I've changed my life. When I stopped going out and drinking with my friends from college and high school, I started focusing more on Facebook groups and interacting more with entrepreneurs. My life dramatically changed. And that was the main thing that I changed at that point in my life. So you are the product of the 5 people that you hang around. I don't know if you've had an instance of that, but if you have, Josh, share it.
Yeah, I think it's so huge. So I used to live with, like when I first quit my job, I went from living in an apartment by myself, and I went to go travel. And I traveled for like 6 months, and I came back, and I ended up staying at like a really good friend of mine's house. And I love them to death. Like, they're some of my best friends in the whole world. But I lived there for like 2 or 3 months, and all they did was party in the house. It was like a fraternity house, basically. And they were lazy. They slept in till noon or 1. They, partied. They drank. They did all those different things. I didn't even drink. I didn't even take part in that. But simply being around it, my productivity level was so low. I didn't want to do live streams as much. I wasn't engaged in my group as much. I got less done. I wasn't as motivated. I wasn't as focused. I moved out to Omaha, Nebraska. I got away from everything. I completely changed my environment, and I got an office, and I sat down and I focused. I got so much more done just by shifting my environment from getting away from the negative people that I was around. Not that they were negative, bad people. Not that anything that they were doing was inherently wrong, but because their goals were different than my goals. And they were dragging me down and putting me in this state of no energy or low energy or not wanting to get out and do that. Completely changed my business. So when I got out here and I got focused, I didn't know anybody out here. So I started hanging out with people online and people that I knew that were successful in business, right? Talking on the phone. And that encouragement, that motivation, that driver, hang out with people that force you to level up. Like, why do you think I hang out with Andrew Crozy? Why do you think I hang out with like all these different people? Because like, they're doing something better than I am in some way, right? If you're not doing something better than I am, like, it's not that I don't like you. It's that I don't like, I don't want to hang around people that aren't on the same level as me because I want to constantly be improving and not like being drugged down. And so I think that's your environment is so crazy important for that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And your friends, probably awesome people, probably just comfortable in their situation. And that's why they go out and party, and that's perfectly fine. Just different goals, like you were saying. And yeah, I want to thank you so much for being here. I know you got to run. One thing that I want to end on, like, it's perfectly fine to feel down. It's perfectly fine to have low energy. It's just like what you do with that really
it's
like yeah, it's totally freaking normal.
Like every single person goes through it. And I think that so many people are like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one that's going through this. Oh my gosh, I'm the only one that feels like a failure. Oh my God. I'm like, guys, I've gotten paychecks where I've made like $27,000 in a day before. And at the end of the day, it's just been like, why am I such a failure at life? All right. Like we all go through different things. Focus on you, focus on making your life better. It doesn't matter if the person next to you is making 10 times more or 10 times less than you. Like you got to focus on what you're doing. Social media is a highlight reel. Remember that. Focus on what you're doing. And I think that's very, very important. So
100%.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, man. If you guys will do a Josh Forti thing, if you guys got value out of this, give us a hashtag value down below. We would love that. And thank you so much. I think this is a super important topic that every entrepreneur should be talking about, especially people that have been successful like you. So thank you for sharing the love. And also, if you guys want to learn more from Josh Forti, go over to his Facebook group, Social Media for Entrepreneurs. He's dropping out. You go live every single freaking day from your car, like from your house, doesn't matter where. And it's always good information. So guys, thanks for being here. Josh, thanks for being here. And
guys, over in Social Media for Entrepreneurs, Andrew goes live in there every Wednesday anyway. So see more of Andrew there, teaching some really cool stuff there as well. So
yep, all about lead gen and chatbots every Wednesday. So Josh, thank you so much, my man.
Talk